Hilton Head Travel Tips. This is part of my travel destination series. You can check out my other videos. I've done one so far on Chicago and Boston, and I have many more planned in the upcoming weeks. Thanks for joining today. This is Graciously Gloria. So let's jump right in. So Hilton Head is one of my favorite vacation spots. I went there for the first time about 20 years ago. The reason I initially picked Hilton Head for a vacation destination is because it has a beach location, and I'm very partial to a beach trip. But I also thought, you know what, it sounded so great that it was near Charleston and Savannah, so I could visit some historic areas as well. So Charleston is about 2 hours away, and Savannah is only about an hour away from Hilton Head. So you can check out those areas while you're there. So let's talk about where to stay, activities, food, and some just different overall general tips that I've learned going there many times. So first off, where to stay. I have part of the Marriott Vacation Club, timeshare, so I tend to stay at the Marriott locations. I've stayed at the one at Surf Watch several times, Baroni, the Grand Ocean, and the Hilton Head resorts there sometimes do have availability even if you're not a vacation club member, and you can look at that on the Marriott website. And what's great about those resort locations is that you're right there at a beach location, first off, and then they have other amenities like pools, jacuzzis, different activities on site, and a little marketplace and places to eat as well. I also stayed at condos in Coligny area. I'll talk a little bit more about Coligny when I talk about activities and food, but Coligny is a great area to stay, very walkable to different venues of food and shopping. Some other locations to rent condos are popular. For example, Sea Pines is another area that's a popular location to rent at, and they have different amenities there with food and hiking trails, and I'll get into those too. So let's move on then to activities. So since this is a beach location, the biggest activity is going to be to spend time at the beach. So that way you can just, relax on the beach, which is fairly popular to do. And perhaps where you're staying, they might have some beach chairs, or you can pick some up from a local store. You might have direct beach access depending on where you're staying. Like if you're staying, for example, at the Marriott, they have direct beach access. Or if you're going to drive there, there's plenty of public beaches as well. So some to mention are Dresden, Foley Field, Burke Beach, and Coligny Beach. And so you can access there. Another one that's kind of interesting is Fish Hall Beach. So that actually is not a regular like ocean beach. It is on the other side, and it's going to have more of like a sunset and more shells. The thing to notice about Fish Hall is it has kind of like a muddy texture of the sand. So you can, as you're walking on it, you might kind of like dig into the sand a little bit. But just be aware of that when you're walking around that area. But I do think it's such a great area to do the sunset. And one time I'll pop in a picture of a picnic that I did for my husband and I, and that was really fun. I brought different things with us on the trip, and then got the food once I was there. And we went to the Piggly Wiggly, which is just a local grocery store. And a little tip for you there is they will actually steam the shrimp for you. If you buy fresh shrimp from them, then they'll steam it for you, and you can have that for you to bring on like a picnic, or just have back if you're staying, for example, like at a condo. And that's fun to do a nice picnic. There's also companies that will do a picnic for you on the beach. And I can put that in the notes too, of a company that I saw with really lovely pictures where they provide the different things of food and all the setup for you for a nice picnic. So shopping, Coligny Shopping Center is a great area to go shopping at. They have some other ones like Shelter Cove Town Center, and both those locations have shopping and dining. And the one thing that I like also about the Shelter Cove, it does have a marsh view when you're walking around there, so that's lovely to see and take pictures of. And some other things you can do, they're really popular, is to go on a bike ride. So a lot of times if you're staying at a resort, they will have then bike rentals for you that you can rent it for like a day or a week, for example. They also have bike rental companies in Hilton Head that will drop off a bike to you. So one time when I stayed in a condo, then they dropped off the bike for me, and you can designate how long you want the bike for, and then they come pick it up. So that was super convenient. Now, what's interesting about biking there are two things. One, they have a lot of good biking trails, so that's really great. But the other thing is you can actually bike right on the beach, which is kind of unusual, right? The reason is there's a lot of sand that's very like a wet compact sand where, area, and then there's like the more like the sandy fluffy sand, right? But they have that wet compact area, a larger portion of that, so that makes it really easy to ride a bike along the beach. So that's really fun to do, so I'd recommend that. Your resort might have things like a pool or a hot tub. The Marriott ones have other things like you can do volleyball, they might have s'mores, different activities as well. One popular area is to check out Sea Pines. Now, Sea Pines does have a fee for the entrance gate. It varies. I think right now it's around $9, but it might change. So just you can look at the Sea Pines website for that. But once you're in Sea Pines, there are several things to do there. They do have dining and shopping. There is a lighthouse, Harbortown Lighthouse, that is neat to see. And then they also have a preserve hike that you can go on, and you're going to probably see some different wildlife, perhaps an alligator. So keep in mind that South Carolina does have alligators. So anytime you might see a body of water like a pond, there may be an alligator in there. And particularly during mating season is where they'll come out of the water more often, but just kind of keep your wits about you. I have seen them when I've gone on like a bike ride around a pond area, and I've seen them in there. So they definitely do exist, but just don't get, too close to them. And so safety there. Another area to go on a walk is the Pinckney Reserve, and that one tends to have a lot of different birds to see. Again, you may see some alligators there as well, and I found that to be a nice area to walk around. Been there, like I mentioned, Hilton Head so many times. So I've been with my kids, and we liked going there together. And I've also gone on trips with my husband. I've done a girls' trip with over 1,000 girls. It was a charity walk called Pledge the Pink, which then you're walking 30 miles. And that one is really fun and neat for charity for breast cancer. So I've done that and stayed in a condo when I did that trip. And then I've gone back and also done a girls' trip with my daughter. And I'll pop in a video. I got married with my husband. I got married there in Hilton Head because it's one of our favorite locations. So like I said, there's so many things to do there, and let's move on to talk about some more activities. So another thing you can do is kayaking along Broad Creek. And when you're kayaking there, you're going to see some oyster beds. So it is kind of like muddy, and you can, if you get kind of stuck at all, you could just push off kind of off the oyster beds and kind of keep going in that area, and it's scenic and really enjoy the kayaking. The kids and I have done that before. Also popular is a dolphin sunset cruise. Now you can go out, they have different trips on these different cruises that go out during the day, but I love to go at a sunset time because it's so picturesque, and to see the dolphins at the same time is so fun. So I'd recommend that. There's a lot of different companies that do that. I could pop a link for you below on Viator and get your guide or some different resources to find those different cruises to sign up for. The other thing that's really unique that I found is something called Disappearing Island. Now, what this is, it only shows up during low tide. So it kind of disappears during high tide. Like the high tide, where is that island? Then as it goes low tide, the water's receding, and it allows the cruise ship, those, the day cruises, to go and see the little island. And we saw lots of different starfish. I'll pop a picture in here of some of the starfish we saw, and that was so fun to be able to do that. And I think that's kind of a unique thing of that area to do. And I will add the link to the company that we used to go on that trip. Most of these little cruises are like, I don't know, like around an hour or two or so of your time. Another popular thing is golfing. And I would say there's different golf locations. And so you would want to look that up if you're into golfing, because there's plenty of locations to enjoy that sport while you're there. Another popular thing to do is fishing. So there are some companies that also you can sign up for to go fishing while you're there. Moving on to talk about food. So I would say Hilton Head is known for different seafood, particularly shrimp. I would say the shrimp there, I think, are very sweet. The local shrimp I like, and I find them to be a little bit different than shrimp other places. And again, that little extra sweetness, I don't know what it is, something in the water there, but I would say definitely go for shrimp while you're there. It is a southern town, so you're going to find different southern things like pimento cheese, hush puppies, things like that. So let's talk about some different places I recommend. There's a lot of places, and new places are always popping up, but here are some of my different favorites. Starting off with breakfast. So Watusi, they have things like an avocado toast or a southern thing like biscuits and gravy. Then I also like the French bakery. So they have different things like omelets, crepes, and quiche. And so some different French fare there, and that's a nice place to go to. Nectar, I always try to make it to Nectar when I'm there because I love chicken and waffles. So again, that sweet and savory, I'm a huge fan of that, and I always get that when I'm at Nectar, and would recommend that dish to you. Moving on to lunch. Now, when I'm going to talk about lunch and dinner, there's several locations that they're open for lunch and dinner, but some are only open for one or the other, if that makes sense. So first off, a lunchtime stewed sandwiches. That's a great for a casual lunch. You can eat there. That's in the Caligny shopping area. You could just grab it to go and bring it to the beach and have your sandwiches there. I think they are really friendly people there, and I enjoy the sandwiches. I usually get one that has like turkey and avocado, so that's tasty. Frosty Frog. Now this one is like more of like a sit down casual lunch. You can get things like the fish tacos there. What I really enjoy when I'm there is like a frozen cocktail. So that's kind of what they're known for. And if you like that kind of thing, then I think that's a fun place to get one. Fish Casual Coastal. Now this is fun because my husband and I really love crab legs, and they can be expensive, and they seem to be going up in price, we find. But this place has an all-you-can-eat crab leg deal at lunchtime. So we would recommend checking that out. We've enjoyed that there, and would definitely do it again. What about some dinner options? And some of these I'll mention to you if I know that they're open at lunchtime too. So Low Country Barbecue, again, they're open lunch and dinner. And the things about Low Country Barbecue, you're going to get some good southern fare like pimento cheese, the fried green tomatoes I like are so tasty. You get burgers and crab cakes, things like that there, and that's a fun place. What about Hudson Seafood? I'd recommend this. You want to make a reservation, and I like to go at sunset time because it has a nice view. And when I'm there, I enjoy the local shrimp and some hush puppies. Poseidon Coastal. So this is in, I believe, that Shelter Cove shopping area. And things that they're known for are things like oysters, seafood, steak, and sushi. Skull Creek Boathouse. Now, when we went there, I would say sometimes parking was a little bit tricky, but it was worth it because I really enjoyed the view and the food there. And again, it has a nice sunset view, so you want to make a reservation if you can. And the seafood I enjoy, particularly the shrimp there. Again, it's a little bit sweeter, so tasty. And oysters are very popular there as well. Sandbar Beach. So this one is over back at Caligny area. It's a casual location, and it's nice also for dinner, getting things like a burger or fish tacos. If that one's open lunch or dinner, and that one has live music. Later, I'm going to talk about kind of highlighting places with live music that I enjoy in Hilton Head too, but that's one of them. The Crazy Crab at Jarvis Creek. This one is on that creek, and it has that marsh view, which I find so nice. And so I would recommend trying to sit outside for this one. Again, that you could have that lunch or dinner. The things that I've enjoyed there are things related to crab. It's called the crab, crazy crab, right? So I've tried the crab and I thought I'm going to try different crab dishes and see what I think. I've liked all of them. I've had the crab dip for an appetizer, a she crab soup, and a crab cake sandwich for lunch. So lots of different crab options there, and they were good, and I liked the service there as well. Ombra Italian Restaurant. Now, this one, my husband and I have been to Italy. He is part Italian, so we are always seeking good Italian food. And I would say that one was tasty. You want to make a reservation there. Michael Anthony's Italian. Again, make a reservation. This one has some homemade pasta to enjoy. And if you don't get a reservation, they have another area that is a casual cafe that you can go to attached to there. Catch 22. This one, again, you want to make a reservation. What I do is I just figure out the days I'm going to be there and just go on the websites and find their different links to make my reservations. I like having a reservation at dinner time, particularly because that way I just know, like if I'm going to go to the beach or other activities, kind of when to be done by, and I don't like to wait around once I'm hungry for dinner. So with a reservation, you just can get right in and you know you're going to have a spot to sit down and enjoy some tasty food. So I do tend to go to places that have reservations for dinner for the most part on trips. So the Catch 22, going back to that one, they're known for things like steak and lobster. What's fun about their tables, the table themselves has like a glass top with shells underneath, so it's really, coastal feeling there. One Hot Mama's. This one is good for lunch or dinner. It's going to have your different traditional barbecue, like your pulled pork, your brisket, your side dishes like cornbread, and that's a tasty place to eat. Coast. Now this one you want to make a reservation. Now here's what's interesting about this one is that you want to be cognizant when you're making a reservation that they actually have a couple different areas that you may be making the reservation for at Coast. So the first floor is casual, but there's another thing for the reservations, and that's called the Ocean Lounge. And that one's only 21 and over. So be aware, depending on who you're bringing on the trip with you, and if you're looking more for like the casual part, or the Ocean Lounge is more upscale where you're trying to sit at that restaurant. That one is located in Sea Pines. So again, you'll have to pay the entrance for the Sea Pines to get into that area. And then you can enjoy your food once you get there. So that's a fun place to eat at. I enjoyed that. We ate at the Ocean Lounge when we were there. The Old Oyster Factory. That one has things like steak, seafood, has again a sunset view area, and I had some good pictures from that. And I remember they had particularly like a tasty dessert. I don't always get a chance to eat the dessert because I'm trying not to eat as many desserts first off, but second, then I get full and I won't have room for dessert. But sometimes I do try to like take food with me and don't finish my whole entree to save room for dessert, something like that, because depending on if the place has like really good desserts and I'm keen on, then I'll try that. But I do remember I liked my dessert there. Ella's on the Water. So I have a picture of that, and we ate there, and it has a steakhouse and seafood, and made a reservation to go there. What about some other areas for like snacks and some other kind of dessert kind of areas? There is a place called Hilton Head Social Bakery, and you can get things like tasty pastries like croissants. And also, my husband's very partial to getting ice cream or custard on a trip. That's also usually one of his requirements is to find a custard or an ice cream location to check out while we're on a trip. Mine is usually like I like to find a garden if there's a garden to go to. But for his, we found Rita's Custard. And so we've gone there several times, and that's in the Coligny shopping area as well. So you can see Coligny, I keep mentioning that because that area has a lot of stuff happening right there. The other thing I love about Hilton Head is the live music. So while I'm there, I love to hear some local bands, and that's so fun. So there's lots of places I'll recommend for that. One is the Tiki Hut Bar. They recently had a renovation there, so this is so fun. You can get some kind of like bar food there. I've gotten some of it, and but really I like to go there, enjoy a fun cocktail and the live music, and do some dancing. So I'd recommend checking out that Tiki Hut Bar right there at the beach. Also, the sandbars, I mentioned that, that has food, so you can enjoy your food while you're listening to the live music at sandbars at Caligny. Another place at Caligny is called Big Bamboos. So that one, the music was inside versus Sandbar. When we went, the music was outside. But Big Bamboos, when we went, I remember had like a Beatles kind of tribute band or something at that location when we went to Big Bamboos. And then another one is the Fish Coastal Casual. That's the place I mentioned that has the crab legs, and they have live music there often too. And that's again in Caligny. And then this is kind of a unique one called Kind of Blue. And what's so fun about this is I did also make a reservation. I've been there a couple times. They have the dueling pianos. So that is so fun. I don't know if you've ever been to dueling pianos, but I enjoy that. I remember even during COVID times, my husband and I found a dueling pianos that was like a virtual one since you couldn't get out as much in person. Anyways, and that one was actually located in New York, but they were doing a virtual thing. But if you can go in person to a dueling pianos, it's so fun because it's like, it just creates a lively atmosphere. And at this one, people did dance as well. So I find there's always a good occasion to dance. I like to dance just, I mean, all the time, really. Let's be real. I will dance sometimes just cooking, okay, because I just think every time is a good time to dance, and anywhere is a good place to dance. So, but if they have like an area that people dance at, that's, added bonus there. So I would say Kind of Blue, make a reservation, go there, enjoy the music. You don't need to dance if you don't want to, but if you do, you can partake in that too. Fish Camp is another location that has live music. And then another one that this one is more upscale, so you want to make a reservation. It's called the Jazz Corner. And that one, it's more like a dinner and a show. So you're going to be eating your dinner at the same time as you're hearing the jazz music. It's kind of a smaller, intimate location there, and well worth your time to get that reservation for that location. Miscellaneous tips. I just want to share with you some insider information since I've been to Hilton Head so many times. The food, as far as like grocery store, they have a Publix and they have the Piggly Wiggly. Even at the Piggly Wiggly, there's a lot of like local decor. As far as like, you get a T-shirt there, you get, a sun hat, a little towel, things like that. So they'll have some little beach items for you. And like I said, different grocery things, and you can get the steamed shrimp there. They'll steam your shrimp for you. So that's fun too. Oh, I did mention a place also that's fun for a frozen cocktail is Pool Bar Gyms. That's fun. They have so many different concoctions there and a nice atmosphere to enjoy some little tasty treat there. And then what if you wanted to have some relaxing time at a spa? I've gone to the Namaste Spa at Veroni at the Marriott. You don't have to be staying there. You could just book your spa visit. What I did was one called the Signature Body Wrap. That was very nice. What it was is you started first very like calming in a tub with candlelight around and soft music, and you got to enjoy a nice little soak. And then afterwards you get out, and then they, cover you and all this. But then they're gonna do, because that like part you're just there in the room by yourself for your nice little bath soak. And then you're gonna get out and they're gonna do a nice body scrub. And then they're gonna also do after that, rinse that off, and then you're going to have a nice hydrating lotion. So my skin just felt so soft, and I did that actually right like the day before my wedding. I went and had that done, and I would recommend that spa, and definitely would go back again to there. Bugs. We're going to have to be real, okay? It is the South, and you might have heard of in the South there's mosquitoes, and so there's definitely going to be, depending on what month you go, especially if you're going to go in the summer months. And you can say I would start starting like even into April, you're going to see some different bugs there. Not that they don't have them year round, but there's going to be more different months of the year than like, let's say like winter, you're not going to see as many bugs. But there's going to be mosquitoes, and there's going to be something called no-see-ums. Okay, literally the no-see-ums, you don't see them. That's why they're called no-see-ums. They're like so small. A lot of times you really do see a mosquito often before when it's biting you, but the no-see-ums, it's like, oh my gosh, they came out of nowhere, and all of a sudden you're like, now I have like this thing that's super itchy. So for the no-see-ums, they have something that's popular that I bought. I think I just got it at like the Piggly Wiggly. They sell it at various local stores. They're called No Gnats. So I would recommend that spray for you, or just check out and bring whatever popular bug spray that you like. But I would say, especially when you're going to go on hikes and out on like dusk time into the evening time, if you're going to be outside a lot, you might consider using some different bug spray to protect yourself from those bugs. And again, those ones called no gnats was the one that I used. Now, what about if you already have the bites? Well, then you can use different things like Benadryl cream, hydrocortisone cream, things like that. Perhaps take like an antihistamine, like a Claritin, things like that to help with your itchiness. But it's better to get a little barrier so you don't actually get the bites rather than dealing with the bites afterwards. So, but just be aware, just giving you a heads up that there's bugs out there. I also found there's a lot of great ideas on there on Facebook. I'm on a Facebook group called We Heart Hilton Head Island, and that one just has people always, well, sometimes they ask the same questions like, what place for dinner or whatever, but it's fun to see different people's ideas and questions, and that might be a group that you might want to join. And then the other one that I'm part of is, because I like the live music so much, is called Hilton Head Island Live Music. And what that one does, it's going to show you the different venues that are having live music and what the bands are that are going to be playing, that upcoming week. So you can kind of look at it closer to your travel date. Because Hilton Head is in South Carolina, like center, like I told you, in a really great area near historic areas as well, then another thing you can do while you're there is like do a day trip. If you wanted to do like a day trip to Charleston, that again would be about 2 hours. I'm going to do a whole separate video on Charleston to give you some ideas of things to do there. There's also, you could do a day trip to Savannah, and that's really like only about an hour away to get to Savannah. And so many things to do in Savannah, historic town and different restaurants, shopping, checking out all the historic areas. So I could do a whole video actually on Savannah as well, because I've been there a few times too. But that's a great area to go to. Right off island is something called Bluffton. I like Bluffton. We actually been thought about like moving to Bluffton, but some things we like in Bluffton are the Southern Barrel Brewery. Again, my husband likes to find a nice local brewery, and we've gone there several times. I'd recommend that. We've had lunch at a place called Craft Kitchen. They also have Old Town Bluffton, which is a nice area to walk around, and another place called Burnt Church Distillery. That's a nice place to check out if you wanted to try to have like a fun cocktail. Another day trip we've done is a trip to Beaufort. And this one, we had lunch at the Low Country Produce and did a nice little local carriage ride in Beaufort. I hope you get to see Hilton Head. It has such a natural beauty. It's one of my favorite spots to go to on the East Coast. And it's so low-key compared to, some other places. Like, I'm originally from California, and the beaches there are just different than they are on the East Coast. But this one is just, again, like just mellow, low-key. And even the signage is like, they don't have big flashy signs or anything to find different locations. But now you're in the know and you know a lot of different places to check out while you're there. Let me know if you've been and where you've enjoyed there, if you have a trip coming up, and love to hear from you. And please consider subscribing for more great travel ideas. This is Graciously Gloria, and thanks for joining, and happy travels to you.